Daniel Ricciardo has reacted to increasing speculation about his Formula 1 future by insisting he is committed to McLaren until the end of his contract next year and saying he will not walk away before then. Ricciardo's deal with McLaren runs to the end of 2023, but as he has continued to struggle, the team has privately been waiting to find out whether Ricciardo will exercise an option that he has to leave early. Several drivers have emerged as potential replacements, including the highly rated Oscar Piastri, who for several weeks has seemed destined to join Williams. So what's Ricciardo said, and what, if anything, does it change about his and McLaren's current situation? Ricciardo has had a difficult 18 months or so since joining McLaren from Renault for 2021. He has struggled to match, let alone beat, young teammate Lando Norris, although he did sensationally win the 2021 Italian Grand Prix, ending McLaren's long win drought. His problems have led to speculation about his future, especially in the wake of McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown openly admitting that the partnership has not met the expectations of Ricciardo or the team. Brown also alluded to contractual mechanisms by which the Ricciardo deal could be ended before 2023, which we understand to be an option on Ricciardo's side only. It's therefore very significant that Ricciardo opted to release a statement on Wednesday, citing his commitment to McLaren and his intention to remain on the grid in 2023. The reality is that the Ricciardo-McLaren union has fallen short of expectations on both sides, and when things are at their worst, Ricciardo looks beaten down and, to be blunt, lost. Azerbaijan and Canada were better races to a degree, as were the sprint and the Grand Prix in Austria. But it's all relative. A better performance for Ricciardo is being a couple of tenths slower than Norris, which isn't what he wants or what McLaren signed him to achieve. Ultimately, Ricciardo's much better than this, holds himself to a higher standard than this, and goes racing for better results than this. The longer his McLaren struggle goes on, the more he suffers personally and also professionally. It's doing serious harm to his reputation and rapidly eating away at the huge bank of credit he built up over the past decade. McLaren continues to make a concerted effort to help the 8-time Grand Prix winner capture his best form, while Ricciardo has conducted himself well in public and behind the scenes is said to remain committed and entirely professional. So this is not about a fallout between the two parties, nor is it the case that Ricciardo feels McLaren's letting him down in some way or giving preferential treatment to Norris. In that case, how should we read Ricciardo's statement? Well, there are a few interpretations. This could be a completely honest position from Ricciardo, who either believes he truly can come back from this and wants to stand by his commitment, or he has simply decided the deal he has for 2023 is worth sticking with even if it means another tough season. Alternatively, as the option to continue in 2023 or not is on Ricciardo's side, he could just be digging in given the recent speculation around potential replacements. It could effectively be a reminder that he calls the shots on this and he intends to honour his contract. So if he's going to leave, it'll be because McLaren wants him to, and in that case, he needs an offer that makes it worth his while. Let us know in the comments of this video what you think both sides should do for next year, and if you've not yet subscribed to our channel, we'd love to have you along for the ride. Ricciardo's punchy statement could have been motivated by the growing list of potential replacements being linked to his seat. One is reigning F2 champion Oscar Piastri, who has not signed anything regarding his future and is on the market, at least as a loan option from Alpine, where he's currently reserve driver and is under contract for 2023. There is nothing binding in place between Alpine and Williams for Piastri's services next year, despite sources indicating that Williams had not only made a decision to replace Nicholas Latifi some time ago, but had also earmarked Piastri as his successor. This delay may have been influenced by Alpine's hesitance to commit to loaning out Piastri when it is yet to re-sign two-time world champion Fernando Alonso for next year. That still seems like a formality, but may be dragged out beyond the summer, further postponing Piastri's own contract talks and potentially keeping him on the market long enough for McLaren to be able to gazump Williams. But even if that possibility exists, would McLaren be keen on loaning Piastri? Or would it be more appealing to go for another driver who it would have a better chance of locking down longer term? One such option could be Alex Albon. He is excelling at Williams this season after returning from a one-season hiatus and only did a deal with the team for 2022, released on a short-term basis from Red Bull. Another name linked with McLaren is, surprisingly, four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is currently at Aston Martin, but has hardly been won over by the team's poor form since joining in 2021, and its car development in 2022 has been ineffective. McLaren would seem the perfect environment to test what a motivated Vettel still has to offer, and would bring a wealth of experience to offset the youthful Norris. Ricciardo's statement made clear he has no intention of walking away from F1, so even if he and McLaren eventually did agree it would be best to part ways early, it looks a pretty safe bet that he would be motivated to stick around and try to repair the damage that's been done to his once sky-high reputation. So where could he go? Maybe Williams in a swap with Albon. While that seems unlikely given Williams' current place in the pecking order, there may well be a vacancy, and if Ricciardo is keen to stay in F1, his choices aren't vast. More likely there would be one last roll of the dice with a team like Aston Martin if Vettel vacates his seat there. Should Vettel leave, then replacing him with a winner of multiple Grand Prix, even if he's fallen on hard times, would make sense for Lawrence Stroll's team to keep a big name alongside Lance Stroll. Ricciardo would not be short of options outside F1 despite his status taking a knock, but as a fiercely competitive person, he will not want his F1 career to end on a low ebb, so if there's a legitimate offer on the table, he's surely going to consider it. It's impossible to discuss McLaren's future driver options at the moment without IndyCar race winner Colton Herta cropping up. Herta made his F1 test debut this week, driving a 2021 McLaren in Portugal. He completed 162 laps of the Portimao circuit in a 2-day evaluation to help McLaren decide if he should be given a practice outing or two at a Grand Prix weekend this season. McLaren carried out this test by taking advantage of a change to F1's rules that now permit year-old car testing in 2022. Herta and McLaren IndyCar driver Pato O'Ward are the contenders to satisfy new regulations aimed at giving more seat time to young talent. In 2 FP1 sessions over the season, every team must have each of its cars driven by a driver who has not competed in more than 2 F1 races. But the more interesting question is whether Herta or O'Ward can mark themselves out as options for a full-time switch to F1 further down the line. Neither looks like a serious option for 2023 in place of Ricciardo, not least because they have contractual obligations in IndyCar. Of the two, Herta seems the most likely candidate. While he drives for Andretti Autosport, which has ambitions of gaining an F1 entry for 2024 and wants Herta to race for that team if it gets the green light, McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown and Michael Andretti have a close relationship. So it's not too difficult to see a deal being thrashed out if McLaren feels it's worth taking a punt on Herta. And for now, we'll just ignore the fact that McLaren did this with Michael Andretti himself in 1993, and that ended badly. 22-year-old Herta is arguably the best American prospect of his generation and a multiple race winner already, but peaks have never really been his problem. Herta is still rough around the edges, as evidenced by several mistakes this season, which combined with some problems outside his control, leave him only 10th in the championship standings. That also means Herta risks ending the season still not eligible for an F1 super license. But while that's a potentially massive hurdle, it only becomes relevant if McLaren decides he's worth serious consideration. And the jury's still out on that. McLaren's current F1 driver Norris said Herta earned the nickname Hooligan Herta way back at the start of his career when the pair were racing in Britain's Formula 4 series. Norris's comments were made affectionately, but they were honest remarks, and it's not great that a characteristic Herta had 7 years ago is still apparent now. A more considered, controlled approach will be vital if Herta is to get anywhere with McLaren or in F1 at any point. His ability is without question, but F1 demands a more complete package. That's something McLaren has probed more deeply in his test this week, and its initial assessment is that Herta's performance was impressive. But there will be deeper analysis to come and further tests even if he passes the initial bar. If Herta's not up to the required standard to replace Ricciardo, either in 2023 or 2024, then McLaren is hardly short of options who are.